Welcome back. If everyone please make their way back to their seats, we will go ahead and get started. Again, a couple of quick housekeeping items before we welcome our next speaker. We'd like to extend our thanks to Evolve Technologies, Genetel, and Parsons who helped make this conference possible through their sponsorship. Thank you again. As a reminder, you can find speaker bios linked in the QR code in the back of your name badge. If you're using social media, please use the hashtag NCCPP2023 and follow us at Protect Museums. If you have questions or need assistance from conference staff, look for anyone wearing a teal ribbon or their name badge. They'll be more than happy to help you. Please make sure your cell phones are silenced. And now I'd like to welcome our panelists for the video analytics discussion, Dan Bailey and Mario Piccolino.
Hi everyone, I'm Dan Bailey, the Associate Director of Information Technology for the Office of Protection Services here at the Smithsonian. I'd like to thank the Board of National Conference on Cultural Property Protection for the invitation to join in a panel discussion about video analytics. Also, I have to give a shout out to the people who've been planning and working and making this conference happen. They do an amazing job and they make it easy for somebody like me to just kind of show up and share a little bit and get what I can out of it. So thank you all. Before I get started, let me introduce the remaining members of the panel. I'm delighted to partner with Mario Piccolino, the Deputy Chief Security Officer from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Mario will be speaking in a few minutes about a Met pilot using artificial intelligence and video analytics, and what could be a major shift in their standard operating procedures through the adoption of that technology. In addition, Isabella Dudek is sitting back, I believe, over there. She will be joining during the panel discussion portion, and Isabella is the Manager for Physical and Technical Security also at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. As you may remember, I gave a lightning round presentation on this topic last year while working at the National Gallery of Art. Asked to participate in this panel discussion earlier while I was still at the National Gallery, I'm grateful that they agreed to allow me to present the materials based upon my experiences there. I haven't been at the Smithsonian to have a lot of experience here yet. Oops. Uh-oh. It may be the clicker. It is. Sorry, folks. Will do. Okay. Yeah. As soon as I go to the second slide. I think this is it. Let's see if we can go one slide at a time by going back and forth. All right, whether you want to incorporate video analytics or not, you may want to review your network and camera infrastructure. The National Gallery began a rather ambitious program several years ago, upgrading and expanding their cameras. They were replacing lower resolution and coax connected cameras, and I did say coax, with higher resolution and multifunction IP cameras. They also adopted new camera locations, opting to place 360-degree fisheye cameras near the center of the room and on the light tracks above the gallery spaces. The higher resolution, the aerial view, and the full coverage of the gallery was a huge improvement over the ledge-mounted box cameras that are shown on the left of that screen. On the right, you see what came from a single camera, 4 different views, much better resolution. The Security Command Center obviously was extremely happy with the change, and the exhibition designers also loved it because the cameras were smaller and less obtrusive. All right, the center. Overhead view cameras also improved the ability to collect and review video data. This camera installation was found to best capture the visitor's behavior and includes enough of the associated art and design elements that you can assist in the interpretation of what the data actually means. Shown here are dwell patterns and most traveled paths for just one gallery during the Afro-Atlantic Histories exhibition. Afro-Atlantic Histories was on display at the National Gallery in the summer of 2022, and it demonstrated fantastic visitor engagement as represented by this slide. That slide, and one for each gallery, as well as a slide like this, which shows a comparison of all the dwell times across the rooms in the exhibition, was provided to gallery visitor services, the curators, and the exhibition designers as a posthumous review of visitor engagement. If you accept that dwell time and interest are somewhat aligned, careful study of the elements that went into the design and the data provided can lend some indication of how different design elements may affect visitor behavior and interest. Comparison across exhibitions that contain different art but employ similar elements may add depth to that understanding. We're going to get there. All right. Other analytics may provide investigational benefit. These examples are still shots created using the software BriefCam and the older camera installation standards at the National Gallery. They're still good examples, though, of how video analytics can slice and dice the data of video. Video analytics processing can be done posthumously quite quickly these days using recorded video, or it can be done in real time. Posthumously actually makes it very affordable and very flexible. Once a video is processed, the tools allow a person to quickly filter based upon various identifiable traits, such as the clothes someone is wearing, in this case, the red color of their shirt, or the path they traveled through a space as shown on the right. Other common filters provided by many of the tools available on the market include people counting, loitering, object left behind, entry into a designated area, and object recognition for cars, motorcycles, trucks, and people, including the direction of travel. Many video management systems are building various analytics into their software, allowing you to avoid separate systems, although many require additional fees. No? All right, while demonstrating the investigational power of the video analytics software, a box was drawn on the screen to display the people that got too close to a painting during the previous day. As luck would have it, the first person that entered that box was a visitor who licked the frame. A little over 6 years ago, this photo created the shock that started the gallery's initial search for a tool to prevent such bold visitor interactions. Gallery officers are always at the forefront of art protection, of course, and the other tools that are used are generally to support them in their mission. Most of the tools that the National Gallery use are fairly common across the industry. To that list, a decision was made to find a tool that could better target the specific behavior of visitor touch. An extensive search for tools was launched, and Acuity by ArtSentry was identified as something that might work. Acuity combines video analytics, multiple alarm zones, audible alerts, a front end that facilitates rapid video review and alarm categorization, and pretty good reporting. The gallery entered into an agreement for a pilot with ArtSentry. To assure it had broad applicability across different exhibits, the National Gallery chose an exhibit filled with three-dimensional objects. They just kind of raised the bar a little bit. This exhibit also had the highest officer touch rate. Located on the ground floor, the Kaufman exhibit is one of the first areas many visitors enter after arrival. Filled with beautiful 16th and 17th century furniture, I don't know if it's the familiarity with the furniture in our everyday lives, or if it's the craftsmanship, the finishings, and the inlays, but it's like it almost begs people to have them touch it. This graph shows a number of officer-reported touches each month just prior to the video analytics pilot started in early 2018. When the pilot began, the gallery immediately saw that the types and volumes of touches were a lot worse than what officers had seen and reported. These are just a few of the examples of touches caught on video using the new analytics. And I believe the curator's words were, "Make it stop." So over the next few months, data was collected, video was collected, and conversations were begun about how we might leverage the technology to reduce touches. During that time, this graph has been compressed and slid over a little bit. The data we collected was presented. And you can see that the number of touches reported by video analytics, and these are confirmed identified touches, was substantially higher. I will say that February, the first month, it wasn't implemented until partway through the month, so that is not a full month of data, so throw that out. The other months are much more relevant. After several interdepartmental meetings with the Registrar's Office, Conservation, Operations, the administrators, a decision was made to enable the audible alert feature, and a male voice alert saying, "Please step back from the art," was chosen. It was chosen because it was thought to be the most instructive, and it was also the least intrusive. The hope was it would notify the officer that their presence was needed in a specific area of the exhibition, and at minimum, it would, perhaps slow people down. Best case, it would actually reduce touches on its own. So video is worth 1,000 words. It didn't stop all the touches, but as you can see, what we saw almost immediately was the touches appeared to end sooner, and the people, as well as those around them, appeared to understand that touching the exhibit was not allowed. The speakers are up in the ceiling, by the way, so it sounds like God's talking to you. All right. It wasn't until the data was in, however, that we were actually sure we were affecting the change we wanted. And here's the change we saw. So like the previous slide, the first month of change, August, was mid-month. So throw that month out too. And what you see is that the audible alert alone cut the touches by over half. And it shortened the touches. That's quite a success. Work has continued in these galleries long after the pilot ended to minimize the touches while balancing aesthetics and visitor engagement with the works. The numbers today are lower than they were in 2018. And I will also say that the number of alerts generated is lower because we got smarter about how we set the alerts up. And you'll hear a little bit more about that as we move forward. Backed by the proven success protecting the three-dimensional artifacts, National Gallery leadership recognized that value that video analytics could bring and approved a Phase 1 expansion. During planning with the various stakeholders, special exhibition galleries were the most prominent of those selected. Other galleries were prioritized by curators, conservation, the Registrar's Office, and exhibition design, all with input from the Office of Protection Services. Over time, Technical Services, which is the group responsible for the system, honed the process for installing video analytics within an exhibition space. National Gallery believes that collaboration and partnership will create the best outcomes. The process we built always pulled the exhibition stakeholders into the process to make the decisions about how we would protect the art. In September of 2019, we tested this process on the Verrocchio exhibit. The first week this exhibit opened, it accounted for 24% of all confirmed touches at the National Gallery that were within the Acuity system. This was despite the fact that it was less than 10% of the room count that was covered by the system. So after the data was collected and analyzed, it was shared with our stakeholders. Again, this is video before we turned on audible alarms in this space. If you notice, they're holding a camera up on the top of the screen. This is a photo op. So all these touches were sustained over several minutes, or seconds rather. Even prior to opening, some of the exhibition's artifacts were deemed very vulnerable by conservation. So we worked quickly to digest the data and pull the team together. All right. The pieces pulled out on this slide represent the most touched pieces in the exhibit. Most of the pieces are sculptures and were easily accessible. As a team, tech services, operations, and the exhibition stakeholders reviewed each piece and determined the best remediations within the context of the exhibit. These changes included selectively setting audible alerts on each of these pieces as well as a few others. It included adding signage, making some of the signage larger, expanding the distance of the buffer zone created by the stanchions, and adding another officer post in the exhibit to increase presence. And what we got was really good. We got a dramatic drop in the touches for this exhibit. The reductions went beyond the 6 items where we turned on the audible. It was seen on all objects across the gallery. A quick note about the October results. There's always an outlier, right? M79, that gallery included the Ginevra da Vinci by Leonardo da Vinci. Say that really fast 3 times. A 2-sided painting. It is housed under a vitrine for extra protection. Touches to the Ginevra were the largest contributor to M79, but the touches were actually to the vitrine and not the art, so it probably should have been thrown out. Once again, we saw a dramatic reduction in the severity and duration of the touches that did happen. So again, the system was twofold working. A fair question at this point: how does it help visitor-officer interaction or contribute to better customer service? It actually helps a great deal. Instead of the officer interrupting the visitor experience, the officer merely has to reinforce the message already delivered by the system. The impartiality of the system reduces counter-arguments by visitors about what is too close. The system is seen by visitors as unbiased, and complaints that officers weren't applying standards fairly to all people have actually also decreased. When well configured, the system provides a layer of protection and acts like another pair of eyes for the officers. The system remains vigilant during those moments where life safety or human distractions prevent the officer's full attention from being placed on art protection. So, this slide. These charts represent data collected for the 31 galleries that were monitored by Acuity in May and June of 2022. It's a lot of alarms. Due to the National Gallery Art's standard operations procedure requiring that every alarm be categorized, Acuity does create a bit of a challenge there. Every alert generated by the system creates a video clip that must be reviewed and then categorized in the Security Command Center. Given the volume of other and too close alarms, that is a significant effort. The good news: help with this challenge is likely to be on the way. Art Sentry is testing a new artificial intelligence feature for its product. The AI innovation aims to substantially reduce false alarms and streamline the administrative workload associated with managing them. And you might wonder, what is the National Gallery doing these days? Well, they nearly doubled their investment in Acuity this past year. And it is often a preferred protection requested by both lenders and curators as part of loan agreements. And it is a feature that the gallery is proud to offer to assure they remain leaders in art protection. We're living in some revolutionary times with video and video analytics. The data that can be created from powerful end-device cameras now match almost everything that is done on a server level. And it's becoming more relevant to security as AI and camera-level analytics are joined together in ways that make it a force multiplier. Having said that, I'll leave you hanging on that note because I'm not going to steal Mario's thunder or presentation. Thank you. I'm pleased to reintroduce Mario Piccolino from the Metropolitan Museum.
Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon. I'm Mario Piccolino, the Deputy Chief Security Officer at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And it's a privilege to be here with you all today. And I want to thank the Smithsonian for inviting me here to discuss how we at the Metropolitan Museum of Art are leveraging security technology to employ a multi-layered approach to enhance the protection of our staff, our visitors, our art, and the facility. Oh. Okay, before I begin, I just want to define our department mission statement. We at the Metropolitan Museum of Art Security Department define our mission statement to support the overall mission of the Metropolitan Museum of Art by providing the best protective services to all our staff and visitors while protecting and safeguarding our collection of art and artifacts and securing our iconic and historic buildings. In the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, we were faced with several new challenges, compounded by outdated security practices, staffing shortages, and an increase in poor visitor behavior. To tackle these issues head on, we started to explore existing and new security technologies that leverage the latest advancements in video surveillance, early detection systems, and artificial intelligence. All right. When I began working at the Met in 1994, safeguarding the collection looked something like this. We primarily relied on a wide assortment of security devices placed throughout the museum, along with the presence of a fixed security officer in nearly every museum gallery. We operated this way until recently, when we initiated a transition to reduce our reliance on traditional security devices and instead began to leverage our existing camera infrastructure and other types of detection solutions. In the last year, we've made some notable progress in implementing innovative strategies aimed at boosting our operational efficiency, mitigating risks, and ensuring the safety of our collection. One of the approaches we've developed centers around reducing our dependence on fixed security officer posts, opting instead to enhance the security patrols with consistent movement, or as we call it, smart patrolling. This approach leveraged the power of artificial intelligence, camera analytics, thermal sensors, and LiDAR technology to provide real-time alerts to our frontline security teams, resulting in increased efficiency, quicker response times, and enables galleries to remain open when we're short-staffed. This began our transformation from having a reactive security approach to a proactive one. We initially began using basic camera analytics to define restricted areas for visitors and assist in maintaining a safe distance from the artwork. The image on your top left is the basic line crossing analytic, where we're defining the area that we want to protect from visitors reaching over and touching. While this approach worked well under specific conditions, we encountered issues with false alarms caused by variations in light and shadows. To address this, we created a solution with our security integrator that involved the use of thermal camera sensors and LiDAR technology. This combination provided us with greater precision and significantly reduced our false alarms. One notable advantage of thermal sensors was their ability to disregard the effects of light and shadows, focusing solely on detecting human heat signatures. The image in your top right is one of our thermal cameras in a special exhibition. The round dark circle in the middle is the defined area we're looking to protect. Within that circle is an object, is a work of art. The lighter images is a visitor who is now reaching over that zone and touching the artwork. That light image is the heat detection that the thermal cameras are picking up. Meanwhile, LiDAR sensors create a virtual perimeter or fence around the artwork, as you see in the lower image. We configured both devices to trigger alerts when someone approached the object too closely or made contact with it. These alerts could be discreetly transmitted to our Security Operations Center or alert locally through customized messages or tones, effectively notifying our security patrols of potential incidents. Despite the positive results of LiDAR technology, thermal cameras, and the camera's analytics, we needed to be even more proactive, more efficient, and further expand our patrols. So we started to explore artificial intelligence, but we could not find an artificial intelligence company that can operate well in a museum setting by protecting the art. What we learned was most AI companies solely focused on providing algorithms and artificial intelligence for weapons detection, perimeter control, PAX alarms or physical access control alarm reduction. While these were significantly beneficial, they did not meet the needs of art protection. That was until we met Ambient AI. During our initial conversations with them, they highlighted how their algorithms could analyze real-time video feeds utilizing our existing camera infrastructure to differentiate between typical visitor behavior and potentially suspicious activity around the artwork. That piqued our interest. After several discussions internally, we decided to go into a pilot program with Ambient, a 2-month pilot program. But before I go into that, I just want to explain some of the differences between camera analytics and artificial intelligence. Camera analytics relies on pixel-based motion detection, which is the basic form of video surveillance technology that detects general movement in a defined scene, as you saw in our early image. In contrast, artificial intelligence uses machine learning algorithms to identify and classify objects in a video stream accurately. The AI leverages the cameras, it watches and listens to what they pick up. It looks for things that may be important, like people, objects, and unusual movements. The AI is trained to recognize patterns that don't seem normal for that scene. The more AI watches, the more it learns. One of the more important factors that went into our decision to proceed with that pilot program with Ambient AI was the privacy considerations. We didn't want to collect facial recognition or facial data. Instead, we wanted to respect people's privacy and have the system programmed to focus solely on security-related incidents and not invade someone's personal privacy. During the testing phase, we deployed 27 licenses to our existing cameras to focus on identifying threat signatures related to slips and fall, art protection, perimeter breaches, and weapons detection. Keep in mind that, I just want to mention also that Ambient AI does offer within one single camera license, I don't want to sound like a salesman, but there's 150 threat signatures in that one license, but we wanted to focus on this. We provided the security patrol teams with mobile devices so they can receive the alerts with video verification. Depending on the threat signature, we configured the dispatching workflow to do one of the following: alert our security operations center for threat verification, or alert both the SOC and the patrol teams at the same time for a quicker response. I'm gonna go into. So the first algorithm that we started to test was a person falling down. The video clip on your left, you can see there's an individual who's in a seated position on the floor. Prior to that, that person was in their wheelchair in a seated position, and the algorithm picked up that there was something unusual in that scene. He was not feeling well, and this was day 1 of our test. Saw that the person wasn't feeling well, fell out of the wheelchair, and immediately alerted our security operations center and our incident response managers and our patrol teams for a quicker response. So alerts like person falling down, weapons detection system, and perimeter breaches are going to be set to go to our security operations center and to our patrols and teams out in the field. The video clip on the right is in an outdoor setting outside of our perimeter. You can see there's a couple of kids who are running, and they go from a standing position to a falling down or a laying down position. This showed us that the algorithm does work well in an outdoor setting and an indoor setting. This is where things got interesting. As you can see in the clip on the left, there's an individual who is touching a furniture piece in our American Wing galleries. Video clip on the right is a person touching the artwork. These 2 algorithms detected the unusual behavior in that scene and noticed that it was a human, that it was an arm, and it was reaching towards the area that we defined that we wanted to protect. And I also identifies fingers. While this is happening, the Security Operations Center is receiving an alert. They're verifying what is happening. They're going to take action, whether they're going to respond to the security teams in the field, or they're going to wait and watch and see how they react to other galleries. Here's another couple of examples of persons touching the art. You can see here on the left, there's a young child who runs up to a furniture piece, places his hands on the object, instantly alerting the SOC. But the person behind them, possibly a parent or an adult, took corrective behavior. In that instance, our operation center assessed the situation, realized that there was no need for us to respond because there was a parent that took the corrective action already. Same goes for this incident here, where it was a visitor who was getting too close to the art. We weren't really sure if they were touching the art or if they were a little too close. So we continually to monitor them. And in another clip, which I don't have, they were touching other objects, and we addressed that with that person by responding, sending an alert to our teams. This is interesting as well. Persons inside a restricted area. That is one of our cleaning staff who is actually doing their job cleaning. But we noticed over the past several years with social media and everyone wanting to be Instagram famous, they would jump over those barriers. They would sit in the chair, lay down in bed, take their selfie, and then it would go off to social media. In those galleries, we did have traditional security devices, but they were reporting locally. And by the time that the patrol teams were responding to it, the people were gone. This is where we were treating as a high alert, and it was instantly alerting our field teams to respond and to address. One of the most important algorithms you're going to find that from any AI company is a person brandishing a firearm or a weapon. In this scene, in this simulated scene, this is set as a high threat. So this is going to send to our SOC, send to our incident response managers, everyone who needs to respond. Person in the vest, so the algorithm is picking up the unusual behavior of a human walking into a scene, hands outreached in an unusual manner, holding a weapon. In this case, it's a gun. Person jumping a fence. The clip on the left is a construction worker for one of our construction projects happening. That construction worker decided to bypass the normal access control protocols of going through the turnstile and to slip in between the gate. Within a few minutes, a full team from all directions ascended on that location and addressed that situation with him. I could tell you from that point on, they don't know how we knew this happened and how quick we responded. We haven't had any incidents on that again. In this scene over here, it's showing how the algorithm can pick someone who is scaling the wall using a ladder or any other means. This is a simulated, that's someone from Ambient simulating that feature. Okay, let me share how Ambient is helping us today. It's allowing us to transition from a reactive security approach to a proactive one. It's automating the video surveillance, monitoring, and threat verifications so that the security personnel could spend more time focused on proactive security measures. It's increased our situational awareness. It's empowering our investigations team to directly search for events of interest rather than person or object search. It's improved our visitor experience. It's helping keep our galleries open, and like Art Century, it decreases uncomfortable and embarrassing situations between the security officer and the visitor. One of the most important factors out of this is we're getting better informed, we're making better decisions. It's allowing us to understand where to optimize our security measures and allocate additional resources and reference data to maximize the workforce usage. What we've quickly learned, to sum this up, is Ambient AI is like having a virtual security officer that keeps an electronic eye on things through our camera system, and the solution is not intended to replace humans, instead to assist them in making better and informed decisions. Okay. As I've shared before you today, our experiences with thermal sensors, LiDAR, camera analytics, and artificial intelligence have demonstrated their efficiency and substantial risk reduction capabilities. I'm firmly convinced that this multifaceted approach in promptly detecting and responding to potential security breaches will be instrumental in shaping the future of museum security. In closing, because I got to give a shout out to the Met's leadership, because without the Met's leadership, and in particular Regina Lombardo, the Met's chief security officer, the Met, for their support, we would not be here today, and we would still be in that earlier image with hundreds and thousands of security devices and a security post in nearly every gallery. I'd also like to recognize Isabella Dudek, our manager for physical and technical security. She's played a pivotal role in getting us to this point. It's her dedication to making sure our systems are well calibrated, well maintained, and everything is working the way it's supposed to work. Additionally, I'd like to acknowledge our security integrator, Seabolt Security, and our new partner, Ambient AI, for their continued and future partnerships. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mario and Dan, for that insightful session. Now it's time to open the floor for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and our colleagues Dario and Amal will pass you a microphone.
Good afternoon. My compliments to both of you. Good news, this was a fantastic presentation. Bad news, that only means I'm going to ask a lot of questions. So if you'll indulge me with a question each. The first one for Dan, regarding your statistics. Have you found any kind of correlation between those touches or the interactions with the art, even when it's non-touches, and any other kind of concerning behavior?
In general, no. It generally is art touching. It isn't fully deployed at the National Gallery, so there's a lot of galleries that do not have that system installed yet. So, for example, the activist issue wasn't covered by Acuity at the time. So it was caught by cameras and officers and people in the gallery.
Thank you. Now if I could pick on Mario, he'll forgive me because we're friends. Oh, and Isabella. And this is more of a conceptual question because this comes up in my own museum, and I'm advocating for this kind of solution. The question comes up about visual or visible deterrence with posted guards, and that without, there's a presumption that there'll be fewer posted guards if you deploy this technology, and the question always comes up, well, what about the visible deterrence? Has that question come up on your end, and what's your answer so that I can use it?
No, it hasn't come up. What this is allowing us to do is to really stretch out our patrols. If you take that police model where a police officer in a patrol car is patrolling their sector, and then they get a call for an incident, it's helping them respond to where the need is, and it will help us based on the data where we should focus our patrols on. It's also going to help us work with our curators and conservators where when we see the repeat touches to certain objects, what is the reason why they're doing that? Is it the way it's displayed? Do we need to put a physical barrier? Do we need to potentially shrink that patrol a little bit to be more focused on that location? I hope that answers.
It does, but I only have another question.
Okay.
And I'm not picking on you. It's really interesting. So are you deploying these smart patrols based on the analytics that you get back from the cameras?
Yes, we are. Right now, we started in our special exhibitions. That's where we did most of our live pilots in our Karl Lagerfeld and Van Gogh exhibition. Now we're going to deploy it in our American wing, where we get most of our incidents from poor visitor behavior. It's going to be deployed to our furniture galleries, as you saw in Dan's presentation. People like to touch furniture and manipulate it, but we're just at the beginning stages of this. So hopefully next year we can have real data and more information on full deployment.
Wonderful, thank you. Fair warning, well, I already had your email address, but you'll be getting an email from me.
All right.
And to the gentleman on the left, when I hear my voice on the PA, I really wish I had your voice.
Oh yeah, you got a great voice.
Hi, I'm one of those collections care professionals that's not security based, but I just have a follow-up question about the AI usage. Have you noticed any hiccups when you have rotating exhibitions and the path that visitors normally take change? And does staff coming in to physically work on the artifacts in the morning or after hours mess up that algorithm?
No, because what the algorithms are doing, they're identifying what is normal in the scene. So we could actually, when the conservators are working in the galleries, and we do this often, we'll turn off the AI or any other type of sensor we may have in the galleries to protect the collection. But the algorithms will pick that up as being potentially normal behavior. We wouldn't have to recalibrate it.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for this presentation. This is fascinating. Can you provide a rough estimate of the cost to roll out a program like this?
Okay, so we're not, how do I explain this? Okay, so at the museum, we don't paint our technology when we're deploying it with a wide brush. So it's not going to be 100% artificial intelligence at this point. So in our special exhibition galleries, we're using a lot of our thermal sensors, LiDAR sensors. I could tell you that the museum is committing, we're in our first year of the commitment of about $500,000 a year for our technology roadmap to roll it out to every curatorial department within the museum. How many years? We're looking at about a 4 to 5 year plan on that initiative. That does not just include the devices or the licensing. There's a lot of wiring. If we're wiring up some new thermal sensors or LiDAR sensors, there's a lot of labor costs associated with that as well.
Thinking back to the last presentation, I'm over here. Could this technology, not the AI necessarily, but the video analytics, be used, thinking back to the security response in an incident, to quickly redistribute staff in the museum? Say guard number 1 has to go respond to an incident. Could the system say, okay, guard 2 and 3, you go over here. Guard 4, you go there.
So are you talking about Art Sentry and Acuity?
I think
Is
so,
that question?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Acuity does have an interface to tablets, so you can use it to alert an officer that in their patrol area there is somebody touching art. I don't know that they have the second part of that where you would shift officers around. Yeah, I think that would require probably some substantial AI, because you would really need to know where every officer was as well.
Sorry, what I'm thinking is sorry, I'm here in the middle.
Okay, sorry.
If you had the data that showed you where the guards are posted normally, and you had all the data about where your visitors usually are,
Okay.
could you sort of build some kind of model to say, if an incident happens in, region A of the museum, this is the best,
Yeah, to my
most
knowledge,
efficient?
the software doesn't have that at this time, but they've been really good about building things, so who knows?
Can I just jump in on that 1 second? We're actually in the process of taking your idea, and we're leveraging not so much through the AI or any other devices, through other means to kind of, maybe with their mobile phone that they have on the patrols, they could ping our other systems to know where they are in real time. And plus we have a pretty good idea of where the patrols are at any given time based on just knowledge of those routes they're running.
This concludes our Q&A. Thank you all for your engaging questions. And thank you to Amal and Dario for their assistance. Let's give a big round of applause to Mario and Dan for the excellent presentation. And now on to our next speaker.